Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Daily Music History.
I'm Abraham.
I'm Wes, and today we're going to be covering events in musical history that have happened on what date?
November 8th.
November the 8th, that's right. And so, as you can probably imagine, there have been a lot of things that have happened on November the 8th, and there's just no way to talk about them all.
Sadly, we can't, because it would be 4 hours at the least.
Yes, probably.
Probably even 5.
Maybe.
Maybe.
So what we did is we listed off 8 or 9 different things that we thought were interesting, and I told Abraham he could choose 3 of them, and we'd talk a little bit more in depth about those 3. And to give you an idea of some of the things that we found that have happened on November the 8th, in 1961, Brian Epstein bought his first ticket to watch the Beatles perform at the Cavern Club in Liverpool. Go ahead.
And these ones are not going to be what we're talking about.
Yeah, these are little events that we're not going to be talking about in depth, but you can look them up for yourself if you want to. So the Brian Epstein, this is the anniversary of his purchasing tickets to see the Beatles for the first time. In 1971, we had 2 interesting things occur. Paul McCartney formed his post-Beatles band Wings. Yep. And also, legendary band Led Zeppelin released Led Zeppelin 4 today, which features the song, what?
Stairway to Heaven!
That's correct. Probably the most, certainly one of the most played songs in radio history. Alright, so to start with today, we're going to go back to the 19th century, to 1887 in particular, and we are going to cover what, bud?
Gramophone invented by Thomas Edison.
That's right, the invention of the gramophone. So tell us a little bit about the gramophone.
The gramophone, it's a device that records sound and it releases and plays it back whenever you want.
That's right. So it was a cylindrical thing, and it was made of wax, and he would put tinfoil around it. Thomas Edison would, and that's how it was. I don't know all the details, but that's how it was able to record sound. And it was the first machine. It was not the first machine that was created with the intention of recording sound, but it was the first one that could successfully record and play it back. I thought you were going to say something.
And also, all the sound like on movies, TV shows, on your apps on your phone, like Bluetooth, we wouldn't have if that wasn't created.
That's good. That's right. So this is like the grandfather of all recording technology. So
the oldest grandfather.
Yeah, the original grandfather. So this is where, I mean, everything that we've got as far as recording technology is an outgrowth of this particular machine. And if I remember correctly, he was originally trying to create a machine that would take telegraph messages and transform them into sound.
And if you don't know what a telegraph is, you go.
Yeah, it's one of those little machines that you always see people doing with the SOS, Morse code stuff, the thing they're tapping on, like that. That's the telegraph. And so he was intending to take those messages and convert them to sound. And in trying to do that, he failed at that, but he succeeded in another way that had a tremendous influence on the rest of history. Anything else? Oh, and this was if I remember correctly, this is the premier technology up until the invention of magnetic tape in 1928. And magnetic tape was pretty much perfected about 10 or 15 years after that. And that is the tape that was used to record, what we think of as recorded music throughout, from that point forward. So when you listen to an album that you really like, the big full sound, that is the direct result of the magnetic tape itself. It's got a huge spectrum to listen to.
I have something for you guys to do. Now close your eyes and think. What's your favorite movie? What's your favorite TV show? What's your favorite music band? What's your favorite YouTube channel? All of that, with it having sound, we wouldn't have it if the gramophone wasn't created.
That's right. Or at least I would say that probably by now there would be some sort of way of recording sound. But this was certainly the beginning of it, and everything that we've done since then comes out of this. And so without this, recorded technology would certainly look different than what it does today.
It would probably be a plaid picture.
You think so? All right, our second topic for today, Bud. What do we got?
The Buddy and Jack radio show featuring Buddy Holly and KDAV in Lubbock, Texas.
That's right. The Buddy and Jack radio show. It was a partnership between Buddy Holly and an individual named Jack Neal, and they've been performing together a little bit, and they were invited on KDAV to perform a couple of songs, and they apparently were impressive enough that KDAV offered them a radio show.
And hit the like button if you've heard Buddy.
Yes, absolutely, and if you haven't, you need to go check him out, because Buddy Holly's something else. So,
and we'll get into his band soon.
Yeah.
Enough.
Yeah, we're big Buddy Holly fans here, so we could talk about it a lot. But the Buddy and Jack show, I'm not sure exactly how long it went, but eventually Jack got married and stopped performing apparently, and he was replaced by a guy named Bob Montgomery, who was a good friend of Buddy's. He'd been performing with Buddy prior to the Buddy and Jack show.
And it turned into the Buddy and Bob show.
That's right. So Buddy and Jack became Buddy and Bob. And there were a few different, a few lineup changes. You know, they brought in an individual named Larry Wellborn to play bass. And then through time, this is the group that developed into the Crickets. Now at this time, Buddy and Bob, and Buddy and Jack, they were performing country music. And in a few short years, 4 years actually, from September 53 to, I believe, September 57 was when Buddy really became nationally known. But in those 4 years, the sound of the music that Buddy was performing went from straight country music to what we think of as rockabilly or early rock and roll. Yeah, and so, yeah, it was a large change in those 4 years. If you can find a couple of recordings of some of the songs that Buddy did with Buddy and Bob, and they are definitely country songs. And then a few years later, you know, it's a drastically different sound. It's still rooted in country music, but it's something that is its own thing, and that's what Buddy really became known for.
Yeah.
All right, what's the last one you want to talk about, Bud?
Jason Newsted performs his first show with his new band Metallica after placing bass player Cliff Burton at the country club in Reseda, CA, California.
Yes. So, Metallica. One of the trying to find a good word for it, but definitely one of the greatest heavy bands of all time. Extraordinarily popular, and for good reason. They're extremely good.
And they did Master of Puppets.
They definitely did Master of Puppets. So what had happened is they were actually on tour for Master of Puppets. This was 1986 in September. And unfortunately, Cliff Burton passed away in a bus accident while they were on tour. And
when they were riding in a bus.
Yeah, they were riding in the bus, and the bus crashed.
Tour.
Yeah, while touring.
Yeah.
And so, after Cliff passed away, you know, they had a few options they could do. So Metallica decided to continue the tour as quickly as possible, and which then required them to replace Cliff as bass player. So they held a tryout, and around 50 bass players tried out, and Jason Newsted was the last bass player to try out, and he was the one who got the job. Now, why is this important?
It's important because Jason...
You don't know. Because Metallica is one of the most popular and influential bands in history.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, looking at them not really taking any sort of time off, their drummer Lars Ulrich said, you know, this is, you know, we never really accepted him as a member of the band, which I can imagine. You know, you'd always kind of look at him as a fill-in for the guy who should be there. And so Yeah, that was a very bad situation. With Cliff's death, it would never be easy to replace someone who departs
good.
on who's that good, who departs on those sorts of circumstances. And so Cliff passed away on September 27th, and November the 8th we see Jason, the new bass player, performing the first show with the band. So that's a very short amount of time, in particular having the bass player pass away in such a shocking and unexpected manner. And so this was a very bad situation. I'm trying to find better words for it and don't really have them. But Jason was able to stay with the band from 1986 up until I believe his final show with them was in 2000. So even that was 20 years ago when he left the band. But he was with the band for 14 years and recorded several albums, including the Black Album with them, which is their most popular album. Go ahead.
And there is a fact about this. They used to call him Jason New Kid.
Yeah, Jason Newsted to Jason New Kid, which I think is a good nickname.
That is a good nickname.
He's
the new kid.
But eventually, you have to be accepted into the band. You can't be the new kid all the time, So anyway, Jason Newsted performs his first show with the band on November the 8th, 1986, on the Master of Puppets tour, in a stop in Reseda, California. And so I think that pretty much fills in for the day. So tomorrow we're going to be covering what day?
November 9th.
November the 9th. That's exactly right. We'll see what, if anything, Brian Epstein got up to with a ticket for the Beatles show. What do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think he went to see them?
Yeah.
He probably did. All right. So you have a good day. Thank you very much for listening.
And if you like what you're hearing, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button.
All right. And have a good day and go listen to some music.